Good morning everybody, and the warmest of welcomes to this week's Turf Talk. Hope everyone is keeping really well. So finally this week it's happened. We've had some rain. Only 10 millimetres, but the first significant rainfall we've had now for weeks and weeks and weeks. Although it's not going to solve the country's problems, we're absolutely grateful for anything at all. But that doesn't mean the irrigator's going to stop. They're still going. And on today's video we're going to have a little wander out, see what we've been up to, see what's going on. Enjoy the video. I have to say it's been fabulous to get this rain, and it really has given us some help. You know, we're truly grateful. Even though it's only 10 millimetres, we're truly grateful for it. But of course it gives opportunity for other things with this damp, mild conditions, for things like red thread to occur. So to negate this, and red thread is generally a disease associated with low fertility, not always, but generally. So we're going to be banging on a bit of fertiliser, a perfect opportunity. We've got some damp soil, some incoming rain. Let's get some on. The fertiliser we're putting on today is a straight nitrogen, and you can maybe see some of the little white prills here. This is a very young crop. You know, the weather really hasn't done us any favours at all with this, so this little bit of nitrogen on here is really going to help push this on now, get it filling in nicely, ready before winter comes. So yeah, this is a field just needs a little bit of encouragement, but you know what, it'll get there, and it'll take a little bit of time. Like I say, I think things production wise are a few weeks behind, but that's nobody's fault. You know, the drought has just been so intense that keeping up with irrigation and everything has just been, well, let's just say very difficult. Of course we have a very programmed approach to fertilisation, and what we're trying to avoid in production is peaks and troughs. So we don't want this turf going off, starting to lose its nutrients, lose its health, otherwise we're losing production time, and we'd estimate maybe 3 to 4 weeks if we allow it to trough out, and then we have to rebuild it up. So we keep an eye on the moisture, we're monitoring it all the time. But of course in a year like this your hands get tired sometimes, and there's absolutely no point putting fertiliser onto droughted out turf. Number one, it's not going to do anything. Number two, it's more likely to volatilise, disappear into the atmosphere, and be of no use whatsoever. Not only is that not good for the environment, it's not good for the pocket, and we're gaining absolutely nothing. So yeah, we've got a field here that's in good health, growing on nicely. We'll let Rory crack on and we'll go a bit further. There's no question that this drought and this hot weather has slowed down the mowing, and it's not quite as frequent as it was, although with that fertiliser on, the bit of rain, I'm sure that's all going to change soon. But we don't twiddle our thumbs, we don't waste our time, we take opportunities to increase things like infrastructure, to service things, to keep things going, and it is a big cog that just keeps turning. So the latest infrastructure project is down at the Wildflower and the Poa, and our Poa bent turf now has become ever popular. So much to the point now where we're increasing our capacity and how much we're putting in. So at the moment what we've been doing, been stripping off this block here, clearing any vegetation, everything off there, so just to go final levels then. And then we've got about another, I don't know, maybe half a hectare of Poa bent going on here, so it's an opportunity to get the guys down, get this done. And over the years we've generated pretty much off the field behind me here a bit of a wind-blown ridge. So at the moment we've got the diggers in, we're clearing that off, clearing the topsoil away, leveling it all out, the soil's been returned to the field, and because of the rain, because of the moisture around, we don't need to irrigate down here for 2 or 3 days now. So it's an opportunity to get the pipes out, and ultimately these will go back underground so they're out of the way, they're not an obstacle for mowers, and they're not an inconvenience to anybody in any kind of production processes. So plenty going on here as well, so like I say, constant investment in infrastructure, and the ultimate plan now will be to get pop-up irrigation in here, all automated, again going to save a lot of time, give us total control over the irrigation, and you know, it'll just be the same when we'll get all this in and then it'll chuck it down for the next year. But you know, you've got to be prepared for the worst, and the last 2 years now is starting to show a bit of a trend, so hopefully this investment here is going to pay dividends. I would just like to mention at this point that the infrastructure works are being carried out by Lakeland Earthworks. Always do an amazing job for us, really happy. You know, Wayne's a top guy. Check out the company, see what they do, and I'm sure you'll be very, very impressed with some of the projects they've been involved with and the total quality of the work that they do. So we've got the digger and the dumper out there, and we've got the soil mound that we visited last time where the sand martins were. Now they've disappeared now, they've fledged, and I'm pretty sure they'll soon be thinking about getting back home. That long journey they have, that long migratory journey back to South Africa. So everything's busy, you know, the seasons are changing. Look at a lot of the trees at the moment starting to turn colour. This is going to be an early autumn, probably so. But you know what, we'll make the best of it while the conditions are right, some nice moisture, still dry enough to carry on with these kind of things. But it's not just turf producers that have had a difficult time during this drought, it's also farmers. And whilst the combines have been out working, harvested all done by the end of July in most cases, everyone's thinking, yeah, hey, brilliant, low drying costs, everything else. However, because things have run pretty much 3 to 4 weeks early, it means that the yields are very low. So there's actually nothing gained at all. And you know, I know this isn't a wheat crop here, this is a maize crop. Now this field is going to be turf next year. Now maize is grown here, it's going to an AD plant, but for us it has one real benefit, and that is it's very phosphate hungry. Now our fields here are quite high in phosphate, a little bit higher than maybe we would like, some, a few of them. So by rotating, putting other crops in, we're helping to reduce that phosphate level to make sure that it's fit for us to grow turf on. So yeah, even with this, it really shouldn't be going out now. It should be harvested probably September time. It's not unusual to see tractors wheel deep in the mud, in the wet, and really struggling. But like I say, been in here, harvested and done. On a more positive note, it's just started raining again, which is absolutely fantastic. So the timing of this fertilizer, absolutely perfect, going to get washed in beautifully, really get this turf pushing on. And of course we have small spreaders as well, like the Vicon. So Matt's been out equally making the most of this opportunity, this little bit of rainfall, to get some fertiliser on the pitches to keep them looking absolutely amazing. The fertiliser Matt's been applying is to this pitch that I'm walking on now. Now you might remember in a video a couple of weeks ago we were only just seeding this. I mean, check out the grass cover, absolutely outstanding. But by getting this fertiliser on now, we'll keep pushing this on, closing the gaps, reducing the opportunity of any kind of weed invasion or anything like that to happen. And with this being a ryegrass crop, that'll happen very quickly, and I'd expect to see, you know, real full coverage on this within another 2 or 3 weeks. Well, that 3 or 4 minutes of rainfall has now stopped, and the irrigation can't. We're on a very high sand content root zone here, which is laid on top of a very high sand content topsoil and a very high sand gravel content subsoil. So it's drainage, which makes it perfect for turf growth, but obviously not for water retention. So the irrigators have got to keep going, and this area here was invested in, I don't know, maybe 2-3 years ago on the infrastructure, and we're increasing it all the time. So we're adding further underground pop-up sprinklers here as we start to grow more and more pitches, and this side of the business is really evolving massively now, which is incredible. So that infrastructure basically means Matt can now go to his control panel, touch a couple of buttons, set all this to go automatically, so him and his team can concentrate on doing other jobs. How good does that look? So I've just come into a fescue field, and this too has had a dose of fertiliser, but this hasn't had the straight end that the early fields had, where it really needs a good push on. This had more of a controlled approach, so we're using a microgranular here, you know, 1209, and this field has not been fed now for quite some time. The reason being, you know, we don't want to get it too fibrous, we don't want it to thatch up, get too developed, so we've been holding it back, running it lean through the summer, you know, minimum water, minimum input. But now with golf season upon us, we're starting to prime it up, get a feed on, get the colour back in, and boy does this look good. Every time I say it, I've never seen any better fescue than this. Well, I'm probably going to be saying the same again, to be honest. However, we know this is ready to go, but we don't wait for these fields to empty. You know, we're turning over such a high volume. that, you know, we can't afford to do that. So the rain also is going to benefit all this new seeding we put in here. So we've got the established crop there, the new seed in the ground, so it's a constant rotation. We're always keeping things going. I'm going to go across this field a little bit further now and just show you a couple of other things we've been doing. Now, R&D at Tillers is something we take massively seriously, so we're always trialling new products that may enhance growth. We're trying new seed varieties, all kinds of things, you know, new ways of watering things, amendments, you name it, we've tried a lot. And a few weeks ago we seeded this particular area here, and we did a video on that, disc seeding it. And that's a new fescue product we're going to be launching hopefully this golf season. Like I say, it's maybe a little bit behind now with the weather we've had and having to prioritise water elsewhere. But my first impressions are it's looking absolutely fabulous and looking exactly how I'd expect it to look. So I'm not going to talk about it too much, but this is going to be a really exciting one, I think, particularly for links courses going forward. And I think once it's really matured and, you know, in its full fit to sale state, then we'll come and do another turf talk down here. We'll talk a bit more about what it is and why it might be beneficial. But at this point in time, very happy with it. Great cover, absolutely zero power in it at all, weed free, absolutely amazing. So as I walk across this field back to my van, you'll see there's all kinds of things at multiple stages of development. Now there's a reason for this, and a few reasons. Number one, we simply cannot afford to wait for this field to empty out. So as soon as there's enough bare ground that we can get in and work it, we'll get that seed back in. Number two, we haven't got everything ready at the same time, which again we don't want. If it sits here too long, it's going to get thatchy, maybe power ingress, all these kind of things that we don't want. The other key reason as well is wind erosion. So we don't want, we saw the little bit of mature fescue we've got left in this field. Yeah, we've got plenty more in others. But if this field was all exposed to brown earth, well, by the end of winter most of it would be in the hedge bottom, blown away, wind erosion. That's what we don't want to do. So there is an environmental responsibility there as well. So many reasons why we do things like we do, but you know what, we're well happy with it. It's quite incredible. I've just driven from that last site and I've driven through some real big puddles that I've not seen for absolutely months, and I've come literally 500 metres down the road, bone dry, not a drop. So during drought conditions there is always that one plant that seems to be the exception, and that of course is the good old weed. So if the grass is struggling, particularly new sowings, then the weed is quite opportunist and will fill in the gaps. But of course we can control them. Now typical weeds in sort of an agricultural area like this would be things like the fat hen and groundsel. Again, very easily controlled those, they'll pretty much just mow out. But it's more the things like, you know, clover, which can ingress from some of the primators, and of course the good old dandelion, which is an absolute survivor this time of year with its deep taproot. And the other one that's quite common is yarrow. I've seen it a lot in domestic lawns. You know, number one, the dandelion with the deep tap, but also the yarrow because, you know, it is known to be a very drought tolerant plant. You see it on golf course bunker faces that are burnt out, dry to a cinder, and there's your yarrow hanging over the side, so a true survivor. But these things can be easily dealt with, and next week, after this fertiliser, after this bit of rain, everything will be nice and fresh, and it'll be the perfect time to get a selective weed killer down. So we'll have a look at that next week, and also in next week's video I'm going to start introducing you to some of the unsung heroes at Tillers, and that is of course our fantastic team. So I'm going to try and spend a bit of time with some of the guys and see what they're up to, talk about their day to day, and yeah, so we've finished the video there. So thank you as always for watching. Please help us grow the channel by subscribing and liking and all that kind of thing, sharing with anybody you think might be interested. Let me know if you like single subject turf talks or whether you prefer a more generic, let's have a look at everything one like this one. Then please let me know and we'll give you whatever you want. So in the meantime, a fabulous weekend, take care everybody, and as always, cheers for now.